Good evening, everyone. Welcome and appreciate your attendance this evening. Are we recording okay on it? Okay, thanks. This is Thursday, January 28th. It's 6 o'clock in the evening, and this is a Board of Education meeting, a regular business session. And with that, we'll call the meeting to order, and if you would please, Mr. Kern, call the roll.
Mr. Bartz?
Here.
Mrs. Fiesel?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mrs. Patrick?
I think she's in the parking lot, hopefully.
She's just had some traffic issues.
Okay.
And Mr. King?
Here. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
She just pulled it.
Okay. May we have a motion, item 4 on the agenda, to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Brian, if you would, please call the roll.
Mrs. Fiesel?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Bartz?
Yes.
And Mr. King?
Yes. So item number 5 then, we'll move to our presentation on the STEM experiences. So if you would please, who's going to speak for the group? There we go. And whenever you're ready.
Hello.
Thank you.
My name is Henry,
I'm Katie. I'm Kayla.
and we are here to talk about why we decided to join STEM. So it all started with when Mrs. Eisman and Mr. Glue came to the middle schools to talk about high school scheduling. I was very intrigued by STEM. I wanted to apply to this program because I wanted to go into the computer sciences and computer engineering fields. I thought STEM would be a great opportunity to get a different type of learning style. I applied to STEM wanting to go into a different field of engineering and different approach to learning. I do believe that now it is safe to say that STEM has really met up to my standards. Thank you.
My story about STEM is actually extremely different from Henry's. I was in the 8th grade Shanahan STEM program, and when I was approached by Mr. Glue to say that this was continuing into a high school program, I was very happy with that because I've also always been interested in science, technology, and math and going into one of those fields. As you can see on the board, we had a launch on the first 3 days of school of bottle rockets. And as soon as I saw that, I knew it was going to be different, but in a good different, and I was able to know that this was going to be a great program for me.
My reason to join STEM was different than Henry's and Katie's, but a very good different. I saw that STEM would be a great stepping stone program to get me to the colleges I wanted to get into and into the fields I would like to be. And through the experiences I've gotten through STEM, like the PBL projects, building Mars rovers, coding, and all the other great things and opportunities we've had this year, I really think that I've learned better through the hands-on approach than maybe at a regular high school.
Hi, I'm Caroline.
I'm Connor.
I'm Ben.
The students at Olentangy Academy get a lot of rare opportunities that other students might not get at a traditional high school. These rare opportunities are what sets STEM apart. The teachers regarding the curriculum at STEM, everything we learn in each of our classes is integrated, meaning that, for example, one day in math, we learn something that would help us the next day in science. Since STEM is such a small building, our teachers are able to work together and make lesson plans that connect to one another. So when we're sitting in class, we know that the things that we're learning will help us either in an hour or in 10 years. Since all 3 high schools come together in this building, you may think that there would maybe some collision. But being honest, there really isn't, because there's just this one thing that brings us together, which is STEM. So we all kind of have the same mindset, like technology, math, and science. So we all know that there is that one thing that brings us together as a school. And as I was talking about before, how the teachers are able to work together, you'll never walk into STEM and hear someone complaining about how they were up all night last night studying for an English test and a math test and a science test. Because our teachers are able to work together, there are no, it's a lower stress situation at STEM. And lastly, I want to talk about all of the learning styles that you would see at STEM. When you step into the building, it's a cool experience because the learning style that you witness is so uncommon. All of the schools come together, so everybody has different styles of learning and paces and stuff. So at STEM, the pace of each class adapts to how we learn and how we see things better. And the faster kids who want to get everything done super quick always have something to be working on, and they're not always waiting on the kids who may want to take their time more. Thank you.
Okay, so here at STEM we have many opportunities to collaborate with the community. For example, like our first project, we teamed up with JTREC to track the amounts of energy being used daily, like during the day. We also got the opportunity to go to the elementary schools and talk to the students, the teachers, the custodians, and the principal. And we shared ideas with them on ways they can save energy, and they gave us some ideas as well. As you can see, I'm dressed up as a lobster, and that definitely broke the ice for the kids, and they definitely wanted to help out and contribute more on ways to save energy.
Another rare opportunity that we get at STEM that we might not get at the traditional high school is that we actually get to see the results of our work. So rather than filling out a worksheet, handing it into our teacher, and then waiting the next night or whatever to see our grade and then not getting to do anything about it, we actually get to go in and change our work. So for example, in our engineering class, we use SolidWorks, which is just a CAD program. And if we find out that we did something wrong, we can go right back in and try to find out what we did wrong so that in the future we can fix it and we can get it done correctly. And that's actually, I know, to a lot of people important because it sets us up for success in the future, because it not only teaches us how to do things better, it gives us the tools to, I guess, know how to fix it next time.
Hello, my name is Lydia.
I'm Devin.
And today Devin and I are going to be talking to you guys about some of the achievements we've had in the STEM program. So we recently just wrapped up our Mars Rover PBL project. PBL stands for Problem-Based Learning. And the interesting thing about this was the problem we had to solve was creating the perfect tire design in order to make it through the simulation of the Mars terrain. And in each group there was 5 members. There was a leader making sure everybody was staying on track. There was a coder that coded the robot, made sure it worked well and maneuvered well. There's a technician, a designer, and a researcher. And the interesting thing that I found through this PBL was although each group created a unique and different tire design using a variety of materials, whether it was created on SolidWorks and 3D printed it or used duct tape and cardboard, each group was successful in getting it through the terrain.
We've had a lot of experiences with the outside workforce through STEM, as in we've had mechanical engineers that work with roller coaster design come in and speak to us while doing a roller coaster building lab in science. We've had the co-founders of Knockout Concepts, Brooks and Jake, come in to talk to us about how they got started with just a ton of ideas and they didn't really know where to go from there, but eventually they built their company and they created a 3D scanner where you can scan objects into a small tablet and print it out on a 3D printer. And it just their hard work shows how far you can get if you just stick to your ideas and if you really want to do something. And most recently we've had some
college students come in from Ohio State University and the University of Cincinnati and other schools. They talk to us about how their classes are and how their experiences affect their classes, and they've given us advice on how to work towards college through our STEM program on what we're doing right now.
Lastly, on behalf of all the STEM students, we would like to thank you guys for creating the Olentangy STEM Academy and giving us the opportunity to be a part of this amazing program. We would also love to see it grow and reach more students.
The kids actually brought some gifts for you.
Oh, good, something we don't have to make, right?
I want to know if they're all going on
Oh,
next
nice.
year.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Are you going? Are you out? Thanks. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I have a quick question for you. So I believe that while Mr. Rafe and our staff do a great job of helping you, students, I guess I'd encourage you that as you're thinking about what you're going to do next, give input back to your teachers, give input back to the administrators on what else the district can do to make the program better. I don't know if you think about that. What are the resources you need, and what are the things that you see in your everyday work in the academy that would improve and help us improve it for you and for the next generation of kids that are going to go through?
We could improve it by getting.
I'll take this one. Okay,
Jump
so
in.
something that we would love to see is maybe eventually having a bigger building and having more students come in from different schools, because I think it's amazing how, like, I have a ton of friends that I didn't even know from, like, Olentangy and Orange. So I think that's really important.
I appreciate it. Yeah, keep thinking and keep giving input and
That's what we
encouraging
know.
that input, because I'd like to tell you that we adults know everything, but we're close.
And that's a good comment, too, because we are a large school district, and it's nice when you have these opportunities to bring the 3 high schools, or any grade level for that matter, together.
Because currently we're sharing with Oasis, a semi-online school, so it would be very useful to have our own space where we can use all the rooms in the building.
So how's it been, you guys, going like in the morning to the academy and then back in the afternoon to your home schools?
Perfectly fine. It's,
Okay.
It's not a hassle at all.
Good.
I like going in the morning better than in the afternoon because then I can truly focus on what I'm doing because I'm most awake in the morning.
I think you're unique.
Sure.
I just get more tired as the day goes on.
Yeah.
Other comments or questions?
What's been the best project that you've worked on?
It's kind of hard to choose.
What about this? How did you, what
Yeah,
did you
anyways.
do to do this for us?
We did that today. Yeah. I think. Yeah, we just did that today, but we did 4 for each board member.
But what did you? What? How did you do it?
We did it on a laser cutter.
On a
So
laser cutter?
we took some slabs of wood and we placed it inside of like this like cube thing.
This cube thing.
And then we lift up, yeah. And then there's a laser that goes in and cuts it out, but we have to design it on a computerized system first.
Did you
and then
use
load it.
SolidWorks for that?
It's Corel.
Corel.
Oh, Corel's still around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, something still
Yeah.
work.
Okay, so what were your favorite projects?
So far, mine has definitely either been the rockets at the beginning of the year or the Mars rover project that we just finished, because my group had a lot of fun with it, and it was very interesting to get the input, and it was a really great project.
A special thing about STEM, I would think, would be that they don't encourage you to go and say, well, that's okay, you can go do this, and they encourage you to go and pursue your own projects. And off to the side a little bit, Caitlin and I have been working on trying to organize a field trip, and that's been one of my favorite projects to try and organize. And it's been just a lot of fun in that we've been only encouraged to pursue that and not to just say, well, that's nice, and get back to your math work.
So what's the field trip that you want to do?
There's a science, math, and physics day, week at the end of the year for Cedar Point. And that Cedar Point ties into a lot of our physical science curriculum and some other curriculum pieces of STEM. And so we wanted to go up there and say, we'll see presentations and different stuff like that.
Neat. Good.
I liked your comment about the collaboration, people having different roles on a team, because that's what you're going to experience after college and you're in the real world. When you're working on a project, somebody has this role, somebody has that role. So that was really good to hear that you're learning that experience. And then in regard to the energy audit program, you might contact Jeff Gordon, if you haven't already, as the facilities committee, volunteers of engineers and other people in the industries. They've been doing a significant energy audit process. I would invite you to find out the next time that the facilities committee is going to be discussing the energy audit program. You might join their meeting and listen to hear their comments and ask questions. You'd be very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, or even if you want to sit in on the picking of the contract, the construction manager, for the next high school. I mean,
Be interesting as well.
yeah.
So this is no longer done by wood burning pen.
No?
Oh, wow. They're all going, what?
Yeah.
What?
Some of you got under the Christmas tree when you're 10 years old.
Well, thank you
Great,
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good stuff.
Thank you.
This is neat.
Very nice presentation. Under the board president's report, I'm sorry. I'm going to make a quick comment on the 3 items that we have under item 11, board action items, and then I'll make another comment. Item A regarding the collective bargaining agreement with the OTA. Number one, we're very appreciative of the discussion that our superintendent, Mark, had with Elaine and her team with OTA and the support of the OTA. And we thank you, Elaine, for your leadership and Mark for your leadership with your team as well. In an upcoming press release, Elaine has an excellent comment, so I'll ask you to pay attention to that when you see that press release about our ongoing, very solid and professional relationship and partnership that we have with all of the staff and volunteers of this school district. So thank you for that. An action will be taking action on in a moment. In regard to item B, the authorization of bonds, and of course Mr. Kern will speak to that, I just thought it might be important to point out that it is a cost-effective method of dealing with these expenditures, and we have used this, I know, of at least 2 times in the past, this methodology. And again, Brian will speak to that. And then thirdly, appointing Brian Coughlin as a new member to the board's facilities committee. I just wanted to point out that I've known Brian for some time. He is a civil engineer by profession, very strong credentials, and he'll be an excellent member of the committee. He volunteered to do that. And as an opportunity just to give a little shout out to his mother-in-law, Vicki Scherer. She has been a member, a volunteer of the policies committee since day one, and she's been active in the Olentangy schools. So just a way to say thank you to her as well. Brian would be an excellent addition. The last item I want to make reference to, it's not an action item or on the agenda, but just a comment about, of course, what just transpired with a former employee. As you know, this former employee was sentenced up to life in prison for crimes that have clearly pained our entire community. On behalf of the entire Olentangy committee, speaking for the board, I want to thank those who are involved, working tirelessly on this case, and of course that's the Delaware County Prosecutor's Office and the Delaware County Sheriff's Office. While this case is completed at the criminal level, what remains for all of us is not completed. Now comes a very critical and very sensitive time of healing. We need to take the time to do that and to support each other. Olentangy will continue to be here for those who need assistance. That'll conclude my report. And Mr. Rafe, if you have some comments, please. Under Superintendent's report, which is item 7 on the agenda.
Yes. Good evening to our dwindled audience. Danielle, you're only non-staff member, so pay attention. There might be a quiz at the end. All right. First and foremost, as you've been made aware, some state report card data has started to trickle out. We actually are going to get some more tomorrow. One more piece of state data. The 3 areas that have been released are with K through 3 literacy improvement, that area, the expected grade for that area is a C. That's another one of those state reporting mechanisms that we find troubling, that C is the expected measure, because as we know in our community, nobody likes C's. But that is what the expected rate of improvement is. Again, what we're monitoring there are students that we identify beginning in kindergarten, and then monitor the rate of improvement from the beginning of kindergarten to the end of kindergarten. Students that are identified in first grade as having reading difficulty, and the beginning of first grade and the end of first grade, beginning of second grade and end of second grade, and so on. And ideally, what we're looking for is that by third grade, all of our students are on track, which for the last 2 years, we have not held back any students in third grade for lack of reading proficiency. The interesting note on that measure is that each district in the state decides what the appropriate level is. And you have to identify more than 5% of your kids at a certain grade level to have the measure be reported. So we could conceivably set a very low bar and have all of our kids in the beginning on track, identified as on track. We believe we set a very high bar, and so that high bar causes us to identify more students for reading intervention. But that's only going to help us in the long run. So, again, we're confident in our academic team and what we have in place to monitor reading improvement in grades K through 3. The second measure that's been reported is graduation rate. We do have an A for that measure. That's been the standard graduation rate that's been in the past. And then the last one there, prepared for success, is a measure of mostly performance on the college entrance exams, the ACT and the SAT, the advanced placement, dual enrollment exams. We don't have International Baccalaureate as a program because we already offer the robust AP program. I had provided you with a memo previously about our rankings and our similar district groupings, and we're very happy with where we are in all of those measures, especially with regard to AP participation and AP exam scores of 3 or better. So that's all good news. Some particular good things that are going on, I put at each of your stations a brochure that we are using for our marketing efforts when we attend job fairs. Mr. Meyer reached out to a student to design. This was one of the recommendations of our diversity committee, and so he facilitated having a student design that marketing brochure for us. Sadie Baumker at Olentangy High School took care of that, and looks as good as any professionally designed piece of literature I've seen. So very well done. Shanahan's Middle School Girls Robotics Team won a teamwork trophy during a regional competition. Once again, obviously the interest in all of those STEM-related fields continues to grow throughout our district. Our Delaware County High School art exhibit was conducted. We had 21 of the exhibit's 27 winning entries. That's Amanda Boz from Orange High School's Dissolution, which was awarded as the Juror's Choice Award. And is that? Yeah. Whenever I go into the high schools and see the artwork displayed, it's just makes me speechless. So you have on the agenda one of our donations. We received an $11,639 donation from the Southern Delaware County Realty Association. They approached me over the summer. Each year, the Southern Delaware County Realtors hold a golf outing. So they were looking for a way to, and their focus was on teen suicide prevention. So we had been discussing a program, some curriculum, called the COPE program. Mr. Fetty had implemented as a pilot program in one of our middle schools, but that's now going to allow us to expand it to all of our middle schools. So that was very much appreciated from the Southern Delaware County Realtors. And then upcoming event there, the Parent to Parent Forum, Tyler's Light, is that is a program that is closely aligned to the Heroin in the Heartland work. I strongly encourage
it was on again last night. All
of our parents to attend that.
Yeah.
It's a drug prevention program, very, very, very powerful. So I strongly encourage parents to attend that. couple HR items on the agenda that are of particular note. Mary Franco, longtime teacher at Wyandotte Run, 4th grade, is retiring. And Vicki Pickett, who originally taught it, or was an aide at Olentangy High School and then moved over to Liberty when it opened. She's the registrar, so she comes in contact with a lot of kids over there at Liberty High School, but they both have over 20 years of service in the district, so there are two notable retirees coming up. And then also on the agenda as an HR item, Theresa Gonza, principal at Alum Creek Elementary School, has resigned to become the curriculum director for Fairbanks local schools, which is actually where she lives. So we're that's a good thing for Theresa. She's done a good job in the 4 years she's been at Alum Creek. So, and then obviously the one agenda item that you guys are discussing and hopefully approving will be the OTA contract extension. We worked. There's been a lot of discussion over the course of. Actually, this discussion started prior to right at the end of last school year as Dr. Lucas was exiting, and we were planning strategy for moving forward the long term. Obviously the contract was up this year. A long discussion about whether or not we wanted to do full negotiations or do an extension, and we think the timing of this 1 year extension to get us past our March ballot issue, stabilize our finances, and also honor the work of our staff, a combination of a lot of factors. We think that's a good thing for us, and it'll put us in a great position to have full-blown negotiations during the course of next year. So, and then finally, I wanted to make sure I brought attention to Louella Martin Yarnell, who passed away. Louella is a longtime Orange Township resident, former Olentangy former Orange school teacher. She wrote a book on the history of Orange Township. I talked about it at a previous meeting, and it was very. I had just seen her at the Orange Township dedication, so very, very sad that Louella passed, but she's a great lady. So that's it for my report. I'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Item 8, treasurer's report, Brian.
Yeah, just a
Information
few
for us?
things to go over, to talk about between board and treasurer action items. Mr. King, you mentioned the resolution about authorizing using proceeds, and essentially what we're doing is if we're successful in March, this resolution allows us to, until we can issue the debt for the build a new high school, allows us to continue the work until that happens. We think we may be able to issue the debt as soon as maybe April, but if we're not, this allows us to use resources such as our general fund, our leftover bond, any bond monies we have left over, our permanent improvement monies. With that, essentially what it does is allow the work to continue. We can pay for that work once the bonds are issued for the new school and for the other improvements as part of the bond issue. We then can reimburse those funds for advancing those monies. So that's that. The $20 million is, we took a look at cash flow for the first year up until December. Like I said, we expect to issue the debt way before December, but just to be safe, we looked at the cash flow for the rest of this calendar year to be safe. A couple other things. The alternative tax budget is on this evening. There is just a statutorial requirement that we do. Essentially, if you look at the general fund, for example, it follows exactly what our 5-year forecast is. It's looking ahead to 2017, along with our debt service fund and the expected debt service that we have coming up the next year. Right now, we're going through the budget process. Right now, the budgets are being examined at the department and building level. We'll continue to work through that process. You'll be approving the update in the May for the forecast, along with the detailed general fund budget, which, if you remember, it's about 6 or 7 pages long. It goes by each object code that we have out there, line by line. So that'll be approved in May, and then the other funds, for example, student activities or grant funds, will be approved in June by the board. And donations this evening, Mr. Rafe mentioned the teen suicide prevention program from Southern Delaware County Realty Association. There's other donations this evening, for example, from our PTOs throughout the district, and one from the Allstate Foundation to the Orange High School Principals Fund. So, as we always say, we appreciate those donations. Some of the work that goes on in the building can't be done without those, so we appreciate those members of the PTOs and boosters' work. And finally, we have a memorandum agreement for deposit of public funds with FC Bank. There again, it's just a money market account opportunity for us for short-term funds. Delaware County Bank will remain our main depository bank, and we'll continue, and this is just another option for us. So, take any questions?
Yeah. I just have a question.
Sure.
Regarding our promise to the voters, we say on the March issue, we promise that if passed, the operating levy will be able to last 3 years. With this contract extension, does that impact that promise at all?
No, we'll still be able to meet that promise.
And then on the $20 million resolution, I guess my ask would be that we would get regular updates as to how much we've borrowed against that. So as we progress through kind of today through construction, we can monitor the pace of that borrowing.
No problem.
Thanks, Brian. Okay. Item 9, public participation for general comments. I think we have one.
Yes, we do have one. Danielle Hayden. Since it's been a while, I'll just like to remind everybody, each person gets 5 minutes. It is up to, at that time, after 5 minutes, the board president does have the option to let you go farther than that, too.
Okay. And we're just glad you're here.
Well, thanks for having me. I've never done this before, so help me out here. But question with a former Olentangy teacher.
Wait.
Name and address.
You have to give your name and address.
Oh, sorry.
Just-
Danielle Hayden, address 5963 Gainey Court, Westerville, Ohio 43082.
Yep.
Good?
Yes.
Okay. So with a former teacher being sentenced today, it made me question what happens when a parent or a student comes forth and makes a complaint or a concern. Is that put in a teacher's file? So that's one question. Do you want me to just...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Another question, are teachers' evaluations, are they yearly or every other year? And then lastly, when I was looking at harassment that's posted on the school board site, I noticed middle school has a large amount. So from 2014, from January through December, middle school had 33 incidents. Is that student versus student, student versus teacher? Is there a breakdown? Is that a school breakdown? It just seemed awfully high. And then in this, for 2015, I found just half the year, from January through May, there were 13 middle school incidents compared to only 4 with high school and 1 in the elementary. So I know these are probably teenagers in middle school, but I'm curious as to why the middle school has such a spike compared to even the high school. So I guess those are my questions.
Well, excuse me, in our public dialogue, we really don't have a dialogue. Our public presentations, we don't have a dialogue where we ask questions and respond to answers back and forth. But a board member can do a qualifying comment if one would so choose, or a treasurer or superintendent if one would like to make a general comment. But certainly, and to answer your questions, this is something that Mr. Rafe can follow up on with you.
Okay.
I would think that particularly the last one, if I'm not mistaken, would take a little bit of research by staff to get you some answers about why things spike, et cetera.
Okay.
So that one
Sorry.
for sure.
No, that's.
No, that's, I'm glad you brought it forward to us, and we can follow up to that.
Okay.
And those, I mean, all of the things you're asking about are administrative functions. They're things that administrators would typically make decisions about, whether or not a complaint or concern goes in a file, whether or not, you know, the evaluation cycle is more mandated as yearly or bi-yearly, depending. Everybody has some type of everybody has some type of evaluation yearly now. In the past, it's been different. The
Okay.
laws recently changed, so would be an explanation for that. And then the same thing with harassments, is they go through a process to deem whether or not it is classified as a harassment. So we can very easily provide you with all that discussion.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Her phone number is on here too, so we have information for her.
And item 10, public participation for action items. Do we have any? Okay, none for that. That brings us to item 11 on the agenda, board action items. And so I will bring forward, as I had mentioned earlier in the report, items A, collective bargaining agreement with the OTA. The extension, as Mr. Ray spoke to, for 1 year. B, approve a resolution authorizing use of funds, as Mr. Kern explained. And item C, approving Mr. Coughlin as a new member of the board's facilities committee. So I will bring all three forward, if there would be a motion to accept.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion?
Yeah, I do have some discussion regarding the collective bargaining agreement. This is a 1-year extension at 2.25%. Is what we're extending the contract at. I just want people to realize that over a 4-year period, I believe the average increase is 1%.
1%.
So I just want people to know that. And if you look at our CUP report, which is also called the district profile on the Ohio Department of Education's website, you can see that comparative to our similar districts, our teacher salaries, as well as our administrative salaries, are below the average of our similar districts. So this is not out of line with the districts that we are competing with.
And to follow up on that, just the whole appropriate notion of attracting and retaining the best of the best. All of that comes into play as well. Other comments? Okay, thank you. Would you take the roll, please, then?
Mr. Bartz?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. Board action items approved 5-0. Mr. Kern, your treasurer action items, please.
Yes, I'd like to present treasurer action items A through F. A being approved board minutes for November 11th, November 24th, and December 10th of 2015. Approving financials for November and December of 2015. Approve amended FY16 appropriations at the fund level. Approve the 2017 alternative tax budget. Approve donations to the district. And F, approve a memorandum agreement for deposit of public funds with FC Bank.
May we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
And discussion questions?
I have one.
Sure.
It was the November, not sure which one, the one with busing. I found a typo. Just that, should we correct it? It was for 2005, and I'm sure it meant 2015. It was in lieu of payments.
In the minutes you're talking about?
Uh-huh.
Is it 24th, maybe?
Hold on, I lost my page, I'm
I
sorry.
don't know, that's probably the November 11th,
I
sorry.
scrolled up.
Yep, I see it right now.
Right, it was supposed to be the 2015.
15.
Yep.
Thank you, Mindy. Art.
Hold on.
I can double chew. I believe that would be probably 2005 is right, without looking back, I would have to look.
Is that a bond?
No, it's declaring transportation as impractical for students as listed in accordance with the resolution of impractical transportation. The initial resolution of impractical transportation says it was approved by the board on November 29th of
Oh,
2005.
it really
Oh,
was
the
from that
original.
long ago?
Well,
Without going and having the minutes right in front of me.
There's a logic to that.
Yeah.
And that whole state, wasn't it the state?
because we have to approve the resolution, and that's probably when we approve the resolution to
And it's
start
just
reimbursements.
it's a standing resolution at that point.
Okay, my apologies.
No, you're
That's
fine.
fine.
You're
No,
fine.
no,
It's a good
glad you
question.
asked. Glad you asked.
I'm happy someone's going through things in more depth.
I read it all.
I usually, hit the minutes and catch everything, but,
That's good.
good, but so good.
All right, anything else? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick,
Yes.
Mr. Bartz,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. The treasure action item is number 12, passed 5-0. And Mr. Rafe, please, item 13, superintendent action items.
I have superintendent action items A through F. Is there any that need to be pulled out?
Just like to make a note that this might be the first time we haven't had one.
Nothing has had to be pulled out.
Assuming no one has anything to pull out.
Yeah, really.
It's just a
First
comment.
time in 4
It's a
years, is that what you're
sidebar.
saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Couldn't.
I was gonna pull something out just because.
Just for fun.
I'm sorry, but I
Maybe
couldn't
next time.
resist.
So quickly then, do we have a motion?
Superintendent action items A
So
through
moved.
F.
And a second? Any discussions? Hearing none, if you call the roll.
Mr. Bartz,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes, so superintendent action items pass also 5-0, without pulling anything out separately. Okay, we will have a motion then in a moment to go into executive session as permitted by the Ohio Revised Code to consider the employment of public employees. After that, we will come back into session simply to adjourn the meeting. There'd be no further action. So you don't need to hang around for the end of the meeting. So can we have a motion to go into session, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. Bartz,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes, the motion to go into executive session passes 5-0, and you have the time?
6:42.
Okay.
Oh.
That could also be a record.
That's close to a record. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance. Appreciate you being here.